All right, here goes. I never thought I'd be that guy, the one who gets played like a damn fool, but here we are. I'm 32, my wife Jessica is 29. We've been together for 5 years, and honestly, I thought we had a good thing going. We were planning our wedding, everything was supposed to be perfect. I was all in, ready to start this new chapter, and I thought she was too. But sometimes, I guess, you don't see the signs until it's too late. It started subtly at first. Jessica's phone was always glued to her hand, more than usual. She'd get these strange, quick glances at her screen whenever I was around, like she was hiding something. I didn't think much of it at the time. She'd brush it off when I asked, say she was texting her friends or planning the wedding. But I noticed how she'd suddenly become more secretive, more defensive if I asked to see her phone or if I tried to look over her shoulder when she was texting. Small things, really, but they added up. I'd also catch her in little lies. Not outright fibs, but the kind that make you realize she was hiding something. Like she'd say she was working late, but then I'd see she'd been liking pictures on Instagram from some guy, someone I'd never even heard of. She'd come home smelling like a different perfume, and the worst part, she'd get defensive if I asked her about it. "You're overthinking things," she'd say. "You're paranoid." Yeah, right. Because a woman who's about to marry you suddenly smells like another man's cologne and gets defensive about her phone. That's totally normal. Then there was the night I found the messages. I was just scrolling through my own phone trying to kill time, and I saw her lock screen light up with a notification. It was a text from someone named Brad, an old friend of hers, or so I thought. The message wasn't long, just a quick, "Can't wait to see you tonight. Miss you." I froze, my stomach sank. Why the hell would she be texting another guy like that? I started reading the messages, and it was clear they'd been talking for weeks, maybe longer. More than just friendly chat. They were talking about meeting up, about sex, about how much they missed each other. I couldn't believe it. My heart was pounding. My mind was racing. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. I had no words. I started to shake. I couldn't believe I was about to marry someone who was cheating on me, right before our wedding. I didn't even know what to do with myself. I felt betrayed, humiliated, and honestly furious. How could she do this? How could she look me in the eye every day, act like she loved me, and then turn around and cheat? It's like the whole foundation of my life was just crumbling, and I was left standing there helpless. I kept looking at the messages, trying to process what I was seeing. Every word was a dagger. They'd been talking about sneaking around, about planning secret meetings. I saw the pictures she sent him, photos of herself in sexy clothes, her lips pouting, her eyes begging for attention. It was more than I could handle. I didn't sleep that night. I just sat there, staring at her phone, feeling like I didn't even know who she was anymore. The girl I thought I was marrying was out there, cheating on me, lying to my face, and I was just supposed to pretend like everything was fine. Yeah, right. So after I saw those messages, everything inside me just shattered. I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat, couldn't think straight. I kept going over everything in my head, trying to convince myself it was a mistake, maybe some kind of misunderstanding. But the evidence was clear. She had been sneaking around behind my back for weeks, maybe longer. I felt sick. How could she lie so effortlessly? How could she look me in the eye every day and pretend everything was fine? The next morning, I decided I couldn't just brush it off. I had to confront her. I waited until she came out of the shower, her hair still damp, her face trying to look innocent. I didn't say much at first, just handed her the phone and told her to explain. Her face froze, the color draining from her cheeks. She looked like a deer caught in headlights. For a moment she just stared at the screen, then slowly reached out and snatched it away. "Oh, come on, babe," she said with that fake innocent tone she always used. "That's nothing, just some stupid flirtation. It's not a big deal." That's when I lost it. I asked her how she could lie to my face, how she could betray everything we had built just for some guy, sex. Her excuse was classic. She said Brad was just a bad influence, that she'd been drunk, or that it was just words and meant nothing. She said she loved me, that she was just confused, that she was sorry. Sorry. Sorry doesn't cut it when you've been cheating on someone for weeks, especially right before the wedding. Her lies kept pouring out. She told me she was just curious, that she didn't really mean anything, that it was just a stupid mistake she'd regret forever. She begged me to forgive her, to forget about it, to move on, but I could see through it. The hurt was too deep. I felt betrayed, angry, and completely lost. How could she do this to me? How could she lie so convincingly? I had never felt so humiliated in my life. At that moment, I knew I had to decide what I was going to do. I was torn, though. Part of me wanted to believe her, wanted to trust that she was genuinely sorry and that it was a one-time thing. But my gut told me otherwise. I kept replaying everything in my head, remembering all those little signs I ignored, all the times she was defensive about her phone, the way she smelled different, the way she lied about her late nights at work. It all clicked now. She'd been cheating on me, and I was just too blind to see it. The emotional roller coaster hit me hard. I felt rage, heartbreak, confusion, and finally a bitter sense of betrayal. I didn't cry, not then. I just sat there staring at her, trying to find the words to say. Part of me wanted to scream at her, to throw her out, to end it right then and there. But another part, the quieter part, just wanted to disappear. All I knew was I couldn't trust her anymore. Not after that. Not when she lied so easily, so convincingly. I had no idea what was coming next, but I knew one thing for sure. Everything had changed. After that confrontation, I felt like I was walking around in a fog. My mind was racing, trying to process everything I just learned. The woman I was supposed to marry, the woman I thought I knew, had been cheating on me with her supposed friend Brad. How long had this been going on? Was it just sex, or was there something more? I kept asking myself these questions over and over, but I didn't get any answers. All I knew was that I felt crushed, like my entire world had just fallen apart. Jessica kept crying, begging me to forgive her, saying she was stupid and made a terrible mistake. She kept insisting that it was a one-time thing, that she loved me, and that she'd never do it again. But I couldn't even look at her without feeling this bitter mix of disgust and heartbreak. I'd never felt so betrayed in my life. Every time I looked at her, I felt like I was staring at a stranger, someone I didn't even recognize. Somehow, her tears and apologies just made me angrier. How could she think that her tears could wash this all away? How could she think I'd just forget? That night I couldn't sleep. I kept tossing and turning, replaying the words and the betrayal over and over again. I knew I needed to do something, anything, to get some clarity. I started thinking about whether I should confront Brad or maybe just cut ties with Jessica entirely. But a part of me also wondered if I should just pack my things and leave her there, alone with her lies. Every moment that passed, I felt more and more like I was sinking into a pit of despair. In the days that followed, I tried to act normal. I went to work, put on a brave face, but inside I was falling apart. I couldn't even bring myself to touch her or talk to her. Every time she looked at me, I saw that shame, that guilt she tried so hard to hide. But I also saw the sneaky glint in her eyes, the way she would avoid my gaze or quickly change the subject. She was trying to hide something, I could tell. That made me angrier. She was lying even more, trying to cover her tracks, but I knew better. Meanwhile, I started digging. I went through her phone, her emails, her social media. I wanted proof, something concrete that I could hold on to. Maybe it was revenge, maybe it was just my way of trying to understand how deep this betrayal went. I found more messages, more photos, and even messages from Brad that she hadn't deleted. They were planning their next meetup, talking about how they'd keep it secret, how they'd make sure no one found out. The more I uncovered, the more I realized that this wasn't some impulsive mistake. It was a calculated, ongoing affair. I felt sick to my stomach. All those moments I thought she was just working late or hanging out with her friends. She was actually sneaking around, lying to my face. It was like a slap in the face every time I found something new. I felt naive, stupid even, for trusting her so blindly. How could I have been so blind? How did I miss all those signs? The anger grew inside me, hot, unforgiving. I started to think about what I would do next, how I'd get my revenge, or if I should just walk away and forget everything. One thing was clear: I couldn't stay pretending everything was okay. I had to make a choice. Do I confront her again? Do I call off the wedding? Do I just leave and never look back? Honestly, I didn't have an answer yet, but I knew one thing. My world was shattered and I'd never trust her again. The betrayal cut too deep, and I was not the same guy I was just a week ago. The decision didn't come easy, but after everything I'd uncovered, I knew I couldn't keep pretending I was okay. The betrayal was too fresh, too raw. I decided I needed to confront her again, but this time with a plan. I couldn't just accuse her without proof, and I definitely didn't want her to keep lying her way out of it. So I took a deep breath, collected all the evidence I had, screenshots, messages, everything, and prepared myself for the inevitable showdown. Jessica sensed I was serious. She tried to act like nothing had changed, but her eyes kept darting around, avoiding mine. When I finally brought up what I knew, her face went pale. "You went through my phone," she whispered, almost like she was surprised I'd find out. That lie. That stupid, pathetic lie. She acted like I was the crazy one for invading her privacy, as if she hadn't been cheating on me with Brad while I was planning our wedding. I looked her dead in the eyes and told her I had enough. That I'd seen everything, her messages, pictures, plans. I told her I couldn't stand being with someone who lied so effortlessly, who cheated with my supposed best friend, her excuse. She said she was just curious, that Brad was someone she'd known for years and that they'd just gotten carried away. I laughed bitterly. Curious. In what universe does that make sense? She all but admitted to it, then tried to twist everything around, blaming me for not trusting her. The anger I felt then was unlike anything I'd ever experienced. It was like a volcano ready to erupt. I told her I was done, that I was not going to marry someone who had been lying to me all this time. Her face crumpled, tears streaming down her cheeks, but it was empty, like she didn't even realize how much she'd screwed up. She begged, pleaded, told me how sorry she was and that she'd do anything to fix it. But I knew better. Sorry doesn't fix betrayal, especially not on the eve of our wedding. That night I packed my things. I couldn't stay in the same apartment knowing she'd betrayed me so completely. I left her there, crying and begging, and I walked out with nothing but a heavy heart. I felt like I'd lost a part of myself. All the trust, all the hope I had for us was gone. I felt hollow. The worst part, I knew she'd probably try to spin it, try to convince everyone she was the victim and I was the bad guy. That's what she always does, blame others, lie her way out of trouble. As I drove away from her place, I kept thinking about what to do next. Do I go straight to the wedding and call it off? Do I tell everyone what I found? Or do I just disappear, forget her, and move on? Honestly, I felt numb. The pain was so intense, it was like a wound that wouldn't heal. I knew I'd have to face a lot of questions, a lot of shame, and probably a lot of guilt on top of the heartbreak. I also wondered if I'd ever trust anyone again. How do you rebuild after something like this? How do you look at your future wife without feeling a bitter sting of betrayal every time? The worst part is I still loved her. I wanted to believe she was truly sorry, that she'd change. But deep down, I knew I couldn't trust her anymore. Not after all this. The woman I thought I knew was gone, replaced by someone I barely recognized. Now I'm just trying to figure out how to put myself back together. How do you forgive someone who lied and cheated so publicly? How do you move on when your whole world has been turned upside down? The truth is, I don't have all the answers yet, but I do know that I won't stay in a relationship built on lies. I have to rebuild my life, even if it means starting over alone. The days that followed were the hardest I've ever experienced. I felt like I was living in some kind of nightmare. I'd wake up expecting her to be there, and then remember she was gone. All I had was this gnawing emptiness inside, mixed with anger and a sense of betrayal that refused to fade. I kept replaying everything, wondering if I could have caught it sooner, if I should have seen the signs. But honestly, I knew deep down I was just fooling myself. The trust was broken beyond repair. I decided I needed space from her, from everything. I blocked her on social media, changed my phone number, and avoided all the places we used to go together. It was a conscious effort to cut her out of my life and start healing. Still, there were moments, especially late at night, when I'd lie awake and obsess over what went wrong. I kept asking myself if I should try to forgive her or if I should just cut my losses entirely. The truth is, I was torn. Part of me wanted to believe she was genuinely remorseful, but another part knew I'd never trust her again. I also reached out to some friends, guys I knew I could trust. I needed someone to talk to, someone who wouldn't judge me or rush to conclusions. Most of them were furious when I told them what I'd found out. They told me to cut her loose, to forget about her, and to start focusing on myself. Honestly, I appreciated the support, but it wasn't that easy. Heartbreak isn't just about logic, it's about emotional scars that take time to heal. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut, left bleeding, and now I was just trying to breathe again. During this period, I also started to see how Jessica was handling everything. She tried to contact me, a few desperate texts, a couple of tearful calls. I ignored them all. I couldn't stand the thought of her trying to manipulate me again, pretending she was the victim after betraying me so openly. The thing is, I could see she was trying to save face, but her lies and excuses only made me angrier. It was clear she didn't fully grasp what she'd done, or maybe she just didn't care. Either way, I knew I had to be strong enough to walk away for good. One thing I did do was dig deeper into her online activity. I found out she'd been talking to Brad even after I'd confronted her. Their secret meetings had continued, and she'd even made plans to meet him again. That was the final blow. It wasn't some impulsive mistake. It was a full-blown affair, and she was still lying to my face about it. That made me realize that I couldn't fix this, not anymore. If she was still willing to cheat and lie, then there was no point in trying to salvage what was already broken. I also started thinking about the future. I knew I couldn't stay in this city, too many memories, too many triggers. I needed a clean break, so I started looking for jobs elsewhere, places where I could be anonymous and start fresh. Part of me wanted to run away from everything, from the pain, the hurt, the betrayal. I felt like I'd been sucker punched, and all I wanted was to leave it behind. Maybe that was cowardly, I don't know, but I couldn't stay in the same place and look at her face without feeling this wave of disgust. Now, I'm at a point where I realize I have two choices. I can keep dwelling on what happened, or I can pick myself up and rebuild. Honestly, I'm leaning toward the second. It's going to take time, and I know I'll carry scars for a while, but I have to accept that some things are beyond my control. That doesn't mean I have to let her win. I deserve better than that. I deserve someone who respects me, who values honesty. And maybe, just maybe, I'll find that. But first, I have to heal from this mess, start trusting myself again, and learn how to move forward without her. It's crazy how one betrayal can change your entire outlook on life. I used to think love was enough, that honesty and loyalty were givens. Turns out they're not. Now I see that trust is fragile and it takes years to build but seconds to destroy. I don't have all the answers yet, but I know I won't make the same mistake twice. I'll heal, I'll move on, and I'll find a way to be stronger than this heartbreak. Looking back now, I realize that this whole nightmare has been a brutal wake-up call. I thought I knew Jessica, thought we had something real. But betrayal doesn't just break your trust, it shatters your sense of security and forces you to reevaluate everything. I still feel the sting of what she did, and I probably will for a long time. But what's more important is what I've learned. I've learned that trust is fragile, and that people can surprise you in the worst ways. I've also learned that no matter how much you love someone, you can't fix a relationship built on lies and deception. Through all this, I've come to see that I need to prioritize myself. I've started focusing on my career, reconnecting with friends I'd pushed aside, and finding new hobbies to fill the void. The pain hasn't gone completely, but it's slowly turning into a distant memory, something I'll carry with me, but not let define me. I've accepted that some relationships are beyond saving once the trust is gone, and that walking away was the only real choice in the end. What I truly want to share with anyone reading this is that betrayal cuts deep, but it also teaches resilience. It's okay to be hurt, to feel angry, to feel lost. That's part of healing. But don't let that pain consume you. Take control of your life again, rebuild what's broken, and remember that you deserve honesty and loyalty from the people you let into your heart. It's not easy, and it's not quick, but one day the pain will lessen and you'll find your strength again. Jessica is out of my life now, and honestly, I don't hate her. I'm just grateful I saw the truth before I married her. That was a wake-up call I needed. Now I'm moving forward, one step at a time, with a clearer understanding of what I want and what I won't tolerate. Trust is something you earn, not just give away, and I'll never make that mistake again. I hope anyone else going through something similar finds the courage to face it head-on. It's a long road, but you're stronger than you think. And someday, You'll look back and realize that the pain was just a part of your growth.